Hey guys, it's Ellen and welcome to my channel. So it's a little wacky Wednesday today. We're going to have fun just painting a loose watercolor landscape. You know, like a Texan. I don't know where this photograph is from, but we're going to go over a picture step by step. I'll give you a reference photo. It's just a nice fun little meadow field, and I show you how I take out some elements in the photograph to create the painting that I enjoy. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Also, tell me what kind of landscapes you like to paint. I really like to hear what's your favorite thing to paint. Also, please hit the bell notification button to know my tutorial up. And also, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. You know, we have a lot of fun over here. We're just painting loosely. And I'm actually working on a new kind of paper today. I'll talk about that. It's a different kind of paper that I'm used to. And you'll see me go through this. I like to do live tutorials because I like to show you exactly what's going on when I'm doing it, as if I was painting right in front of you. So again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Also, check out my Patreon. I have ad-free videos, traceables, exclusive tutorials on Thursdays, and a live stream in the top tier on the third Saturday of the month. It's just a place people go and support my channel, which I appreciate so much. You can check it out right up here. So without further ado, let's get painting a meadow. All right, guys, I'll go over my supplies. I bought some new supplies, like I've talked about recently. I tried this. It was a sale on Jerry's Autorama. It's not there anymore, but I'll put a link in there for anybody for like Amazon, whatever, to find it if they have it on there. They might not have it on there. This is I think it's called Boahong watercolor paper, and it's a block. So, and it's 100% cotton. You know, it's 20 sheets in this, 40 pounds. So wet on wet is good to try once in a while, like if you're doing a lot of water on a block. So it's, you don't need to stretch it. It's already stretched. Basically, holding still, it's going to lay flat. But they're expensive. So I generally use the sheets and I tape them down. You can, stretch them by putting the water on them first. And I can talk about that in another video. But so we'll be using this pad for this loose landscape. I'll be playing around with a bunch of brushes. I might play around with my Princeton 12 Neptune series. Maybe my Princeton Velvet Touch series. Remember, I just bought some new flat wash brushes. There's a video on there. So I have the Princeton 3/4 inch and 3/8 inch. This one has an angle on it. And I'll always probably use my trusty 8 long round just to make some nice grasses. I give you a reference photo that I'm kind of playing around with. Remember, I'm not going to do everything on this photo. It's just an inspiration. Sometimes when you look at photos, you get stuck on painting everything that you see. And I necessarily don't want to do that. I just wanted, I liked the colors, that I saw. Like these kind of like yellow, beiges, and little teeny flowers in here. And I might emphasize more colors, more different flowers. And I don't have to put all the rocks in here. And these trees are very kind of just, it's like your eye is always just going to the tree. If you just look at this, if you just take out the tree, look at that pretty little painting. I don't even know if I want to put the tree in. I might not even put the tree in now. I think about it. These are things you think about when you have, even the background mountains. So you take the two of them out. Look at that pretty landscape. See? These are things. Because really, I don't want to like these trees. I don't. I'm taking them out. It's too much. So we're just going to watch how I would do that, take that out. And, you could do a sky, not a sky. I'm going to start with my flat wash brush. This is the Princeton 3/4 inch. And I'll take some nice ultramarine blue deep. These are all Holbein paints, by the way. And the description's in the box. Just going to loosen this up. I always like to start with the sky. It's just my thing. I'm just going to do a loose. See, I'm dipping my brush back in the water with the watercolor paint here. And I'm just trying out this new paper with you guys here. And it really soaks it up. So if you get this paper, keep that in mind. It's a soaker. It doesn't really spread. Interesting. See? I like to do my painting and my tutorials kind of live. So you see my disasters and how I fix them. Wow, this paper is crazy. Soaks it up. And I'm just kind of wash this paint across. It's really light. I might have to go back in and add some more color. Woohoo! But it doesn't bleed like the arch paper. Interesting. See, this is where you try different things and you say, ugh, paper great, paper stinky. You know, I can lift this up a little bit on a 3/4 angle. Put some color up in here. It really soaks it up, which means you gotta really put a lot of water in this one. This is a thirsty paper. It's almost like painting on a paper towel, if that makes any sense. So I left the building. Get it? I left the building, but I didn't leave the building, but I left the building here. As you can see, I did do that. And the rest I'm painting in color. Just kind of like washing in that color. This is really loose, simple. All right, I'm cleaning up my brush. Now that I know the paper is really thirsty, I'm going to be really conscious of that. So I've got my cadmium yellow deep. There's a lot of pigment right there. Still on my brush. Now I'm going to try a different brush too. I'm going to try the Princeton 12. Let's see what happens. I like to play around with me. So I can mix up some, it looks, you know, like rustic orangey yellows. I can add some burnt umber. A little bit of yellow to that burnt umber. Doesn't have to look exactly like the picture. I'm mixing up a bunch of colors now because I want to bleed with them some into each other. So I've got peacock blue. And there's yellow already in here, and then the peacock blue. Just activating that. Now that's really bright. I don't want that in some areas, but not everywhere. And then I'll make a deeper green. Take that green and I'll grab some Prussian blue up here. Got a deeper green. Now I don't mind that there's a lot of water because obviously this paper is super thirsty, and I'm grabbing some umber. Oh, and I didn't mention that I had paper towel, but you have a towel, paper towel close by. So we see it's like the little road, little rustic. I also have this nice color too because I'm using poppies in there. This is cadmium red light. It's mixing in with that yellow. Got a nice bright orange. Add a little of this burnt umber. So I'm playing around with a lot of colors. All right, I've cleaned off my brush. You hear that's the second water. This is the clean water. I'm going to start grabbing some of this yellow, kind of brown tones. And there's some green up in here too, in the trees. And that's really bright, so I do want to tone it down a bit. There we go. And let's see about this paper. It's looking a little brown again. I'm telling you, this paper really soaks it up. It's funny, you can't get much movement as far as what I feel like. I might have to get used to it. So I've just done this section here. See, I like to squint my eyes and see where the, and I'll kind of play around with kind of washing in lightly back and forth in here. I squint my eyes and I see some in here. And then of course there's that nice little orangey kind of rustic road. Just wash in that color. Grabbing the water. Wow, it just really soaks it. This doesn't have to be perfect. Going back with the yellow. Like I said, I'm not making it, I'm taking those trees out. I just omitted them. And I'm going to grab a little bit of green. Put that back here. And we've got these trees. See, I'm just taking the 12, I'm just kind of making those, they look like little bushes. Pretty simple with that dark green. That's why I mixed up all the colors at once. You can go back and forth and play around with them. You can mix them together, taking the tip of the brush going like that. I know it could bleed up in here, which is fine. My paper might look like, I it's on an angle. It's just the way my camera's held on the stand. A little bit of a mess with the camera these days. I'm going to be getting a new phone. I like to film on the phone than my camera. I tried my the nice fancy camera, and it takes forever to make a video that way. So I would have less videos putting out, and it's just not my thing. You have to take the camera, then you have to upload it. So now see, I'm kind of mushing the greens like this, just grabbing some green, putting some green in here. I'm grabbing the burnt umber. There's a color called neutral tint here. It's like a grayish purple. Tap, tap. I can't say this part, but tap, tap, tap. Paper towel, take off the excess water. Just throw in a little bit of dark tones, contrast, and this green. Just kind of move fast, you know, you kind of go back and forth. I will kind of keep the green in here. See, I just dipped my brush into the water. Now that water was clean, now it's getting dirty. I have 3 of them, by the way. A little yellow. Get a little bit darker with the green in here. Even though we took out the trees, we can pretend there's something there that's giving it a shadow. I just didn't want this concentration of a color in here, you know. I want to change it. You're looking at these things for, you know, for reference, for ideas. You don't have to necessarily follow everything to the T. There's some darker greens over here. I'm still using the 12. Grabbing some water, kind of pushing the paint around. Now, if you really wanted some nice pretty flowers, we talked about this in my other spring landscape. You're going to put those in first and paint around them, because sometimes it will get muddy. See, I'm leaving a lot of white space for a reason. It's going to get muddy and it's not going to look pretty around them. So I'm adding more green in here. So my landscape is inspired by this meadow, but it's not necessarily going to look like it. So I'm just kind of dry brushing in some greens now. If I wanted to put those little rocks in, I can put some of them in. They actually look white. Maybe put a little gray in there instead. So I've mixed some neutral tint. I'm just watering it down a little bit. Just kind of doing the outer edge of where the rock would be. I don't mind the rocks, I just didn't like the trees. Just putting this little dark, grabbing some neutral tint with the tip of my brush, tap on paper towel that's wet. These are kind of techniques that I like to do. So you get a light gray. The paper towel comes in handy for many things. Alright, so like I said, we have these. This in this photograph, you can see there's purples and there's reds and there's yellows. So we can play around with that and just water down some of this. Is that red color? It's pretty intense. I love it though. And you can see it right over here. You want to keep it clean. So you want to put it in the white areas. And then you can go back. See, the little green's going to make it brown. Because that will happen. See, if you put the red into the green, it's going to make it brown because it's a complementary color. So I'm just going to put these little... There's a whole bunch of poppies kind of like here. I have to paint around them. Just adding the little red flower dots. And then incrementally, like around here, there's just various blooms. You can actually see a poppy here. Get a little bit more intricate if you wanted to in front. Add the centers, whatnot. This paper is just funky, and I see a lot of purples. I like to make some purples too. Purples would be fun. So I have magenta, and I'll mix it with the ultramarine. It's a pinkish purple. So you see some of those, kind of play around those down here. Just really kind of tapping in the color, not doing anything spectacular. Now some of this bled, which is perfectly fine. It's not supposed to, again, this is just an exercise in playing with landscapes, taking out things and omitting things in photographs. Just, you kind of have to squint your eye, which I kind of talked about the last one. I'm going to start to play with those going in here. Try not to keep it muddy by cleaning your brush. Also, if you wait till it completely dries before you put it in, that helps as well. So I'm going to go around. Since they're wet, it's touching them a little bit and getting them a little bit muddy, but that's okay. Getting in some browns. Going back to my little field here. You can start to like take your brush and go upward. Now this brush is kind of awkward for that because it's big and floppy. I'm going to go back and add some more of that rustic yellow color on the back, orangey yellow. See, add a little bit of red. You can see that like desert color. Desert color. Going right over here, holding it outside. And of course, it's very rustic, a little more orange. Okay, a little bit umber. Taking some paint out here on this road. That I'm keeping. Maybe add a little more brown. So you got it really dark. Just kind of lightly paint that in. You could add some flowers and some greenery around it. If you want to make it more of a gray tone, brown. Not making the road so serious. And I'm going to go add some greens around it. So that's some bright green. Can add a little brown to that, a little red. Dip in the water. And just kind of go back and forth. And again, add some deeper green. Got the Prussian blue and the yellow, a little bit of brown. And add some water on my brush. Starting to adding some deeper greens over here. Just kind of like back and forth and tapping in the color. And then here around the rocks. It's really just an exercise in like close your eyes and squint and see what you see. Go up and down. Getting that like meadow area where you see the poppies. Right, and then you could add lighter green in here. I don't have to be real specific with it. Just kind of playing around with the color. Grab some of that rustic orange and some yellow. Really bright back here. Now I'm going to start adding a little more greens. And then the deeper green back here again. That one really faded out. So we can go back in and fix that. A little more concentrated with this color. And I'll tap it on the water. And I'll go back in. Now I haven't done the house yet. It's basically like a nice terracotta kind of color. Add some more deep green back here. Trying to keep it really loose. There's a couple little green darkness back here. And just tapping in my brush. And then taking the tip, kind of going like this. There's a couple little ones in here. Really, it's an expression, so don't get bogged down that I'm going in between the red now. See that? Tap, tap, tap. Always doing that little tap. Just kind of, now this paper's kind of buckling a little bit on this pad, but it should dry flat because it's a block. So we're building and building the rustic little road. I feel like my road kind of looks goofy, but hey, that's okay. Going back and forth, adding some greens, some yellows. We're getting there. A little more rustic. I've got this dark green, same color. I mixed up a little more blue in here, a little more Prussian blue, and now I'll grab the Princeton 8 and I'll start to play around with making some like grasses, just pulling up like this. Gonna add some more concentrated color. See, I mix these colors all together. Thicker, concentrated. This is very wet and damp here, so take the tip of the brush. Just making these little spikes going upward for grasses while it's still damp. There's no science to this, just a way to do it. See, a little bit darker here. Just got used to like moving, and I like a lot of movement in my painting, so you can kind of like just kind of really go for it. Again, just gonna go up here and make these like really swooping kind of grasses. Boom, 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 boom. And in the background, you can try and do it. It's just gonna be still a little bit damp. Stop playing around doing this. See that? My road. My road's kind of buried. So I'm going to have to add the darker tones you see in the photograph of the little grasses here. It's nice to add just some blue right here. Just Prussian blue I just threw right in here on my tip of my brush. See? It's a little more concentrated. You can add a little neutral tint too. Get even more concentrated. Just doing these grasses. Kind of swooping up. And so for the house, I'm just going to put in a nice light wash of this kind of terracotta kind of color. The windows are kind of black, so you could just kind of wash over the whole square rectangle shape. Trying to keep it fairly light. And then there was a grayer one, whitish gray. I'm just going to grab some neutral tint. And there was a bush in front of it. We can paint that after we finish the terracotta color. Can add the little details in a bit. There's a little house. So really, once this dries, like all these little white spaces, you can kind of try and fill some of them in with just glazing in some light green, some yellow. See, I'm grabbing the yellow and water it down. Just go over some of these areas that are still kind of white. And we're going to go back in and add some white too, because as you can see, looks like there's some Queen Anne's lace in here, and a little white back there. But again, as it's starting to dry, you can start to add in some deeper textures and tones by just grabbing in your little brush. See, I hold it on a side and go like that, add some color. And then fill in some of these areas with the greens and the terracotta color. I don't think it's necessary to go through everything. I might have left like the road kind of here. But then you can just go down here. As you see in the photograph, there's a lot of tall grasses just in the front. And it's nice just to have something like this. Just take your brush and try to make these swoopy grasses. See, I'm just making a movement like this. I'm grabbing all these colors, the greens, the brown, the neutral tint. Also, you know, you might want to go in, you can see the section, if you do want to keep it the way it kind of looks in the photograph, just get that section around the poppies. It's pretty dark, like, you know, stems in here, grasses kind of leading up to these poppies. So I'm going back in and adding nice deep green mixed with my Prussian blue and my browns. And then you can add a few more kind of stragglers out this way. Another way to do it, like without having to draw every single little line like I'm doing here. If you have a fan brush, I didn't mention we're going to use a fan brush, but if you have a fan brush, you can play around with this. Grab your colors. See, I'm grabbing here. Grab some yellow, mix it. Tapping on a paper towel. Fan brushes work great for really quickly putting in some grasses, like see how I'm doing here. Take all that time out of your day. You're going to see not a million lines, but you're going to see some lines. And I'm going here with the brown. This is fun to play with. It does separate a lot. But, you know, that's just something if you want it to look like that. You don't have to. It's kind of fun to play. I like to play around with the flat brushes. See, I'm going in and adding the yellows. Just go like this. They're fun to play with. Right? And then we've got the terracotta kind of walkway. Adding some darker tones to that. With that red, brown, maybe a little neutral tint, as you see. Shadows from the grasses in it. Just like that. And then I could add some more grasses with this brush, holding this way. If you don't have the number 8 Princeton. So many things you can do with all these little brushes. Just getting real expressive with the flat wash brush. But while this is all dry, I can go back in here and put this green bushes. See, a lovely green bush. Took some paint off with the water. That was here. I'm going to fix this one up here. Can add some Prussian blue on the bottom to just darken that section. You see? A little bit darker in here. These are the ones here. Don't be afraid to add all kinds of colors. And then we just put the simple windows in. I could just use neutral tint for that. This is pretty dry. Just the little rectangular windows. Now the color is pretty flat here. We can go in and add some grays to that terracotta neutral tint. Just take your brush and the tip of it, kind of line the roof. Maybe put a little marks going across. Don't have to make it really detailed with the little house. Keep it simple, right? And I'm going in here, adding more neutral tint. You know, we're going to be playing with that in a few minutes. We're going to add some more gouache and just finish it up. All right, I quickly dried it, you know, just so it's not so damp. You can go in and grab some gouache. Now you can paint some white little flowers here and there. Oops, that's a big blob. As you can see, the little white, what do you call it? Oh, I can't remember. Not baby's breath, but you guys remember it. I have a brain cramp. Queen Anne's lace, I'm sorry. And just kind of tapping them in with this brush. See that out here in the field? Little teeny ones. Take the tip of my brush, just water down the gouache a little bit. Now out here, you can see little bits of it. You just kind of hold it on its side. Kind of put the little dots, but kind of mush them and go out on the side. You see that? I'll show you closer. It's kind of like little teeny dots, and then kind of connects them. If that makes any sense. Those are the flowers in the distance. Just little dots. But you don't be like a dot, dot, dot. You want to connect them. Or you can tap it on your paper towel and kind of go on the side a little bit like this. See? Take the paint. Tap, tap, tap. No, can't see my paper towel. Sorry. Tap, tap, tap. Kind of hold it on its side. And it will make because the paper has ridges. See that? They'll kind of just do it for you. See how easy that was? You just kind of hold it on its side, kind of like that. It's going to go in all the little crevices that have the little ridges. And you have that feel. Now, I would also, of course, you know, I'm going to do this. Splatter some of the paint. Because I'm going to cover it, of course. I don't want it everywhere. So I'll just loosen up that gouache. Well, you could do it with a little wet too, but oh, see, big dots. I can fix that though. Look at the middle field. Just a little splattering. Having a little fun with the splatter today. And a little more. Now, those big dots, no big problem. I'll just lift them up. And you didn't even notice they were there. But like I said, in the front ones, you know, you would kind of really kind of just push down. So it looks like the Queen Anne's lace. Add some more down in here. Just kind of sporadically stick them around. Play around, guys. I'm adding in some more yellows. Now that's dry. You could take the concentrated yellow, just go right in here. And play around. Even with the red too, you could do it with the red. So it looks a little more like an inspirational Monet kind of piece. See, I'm going back here and adding some nice pretty bright yellow. Same thing with this rustic color. I can go in and add some rustic tones. There are no rules. I'm going to go in here. Just kind of like hold on side. Right? Add some more greens. So now I'm just going to go back in. I'm just doing this real quick. I'm just speeding up a little bit. Pretty much you see what the painting is. But going back in and adding some more grasses. I'll add in some more colors with the flowers. You know, just play around with it. Keep the swooping grasses. Go, you know, upward, backward, round a corner. And then just kind of wash in some pretty, you know, reds and purples and yellows. It's a really interpretation of how you would do the meadow. Try not to overthink it. Just put in the colors. You can add as many colors as you want. I mean, you can make it more like impressionistic style. It's just something to try out. And here I'm going, just grabbing some concentrated red to make more poppies, just filling that in wherever I feel like. It's good to step back every once in a while to see if your painting is looking the way you want it to look. Sometimes it's actually good to look on your phone to see if you like it. It's just, you know, it's one of the tools that I use. And you see how I took out the tree and the mountain, and I just interpreted the meadow feel how I would like to interpret, just like a nice, loose, impressionistic kind of painting. And that's just what I did. It's like you can do whatever you want. You know, there are no rules in that you have to follow the photograph to the T. I just kind of like the colors and the placement, and that's what I used it for. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, leave in the comment section. You know, tell me what kind of landscapes you're interested in. I'd really like to hear. You know, what is your favorite thing that you like to paint? So, yeah. Thank you for stopping by. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you haven't hit that bell notification button, please do so. Thanks, guys. Take care. Have a great day. And I'll speak to you soon.